Here we are at the barn. My most viewed video of all of BookTube. It's nothing to do with books, it's at my parents' house, so why not have a little update. Veg. Lots more veg. Little arch with, can you see the little animals? My dad cut them out. And there's some fairies around here. Here are the apples. Let's have a look. Growing very nicely. Lots of archers. There's a sophisticated looking man sat at the table. Let's have a look here. Cauldrons, because everybody needs a cauldron. This is the vine, the walkway. Let's have a look. And here. So we've got more veg. The solar panels. This is the roof with all the what's on there now? Sedums, I want to say sedums, is that right? Wood store. And there should be a chicken in here. Might have to go around. Where is she? Hello. Hey Audrey. Come say hello. Hello, darling. I know I don't have anything. Should I get you a blackberry? Let's have a look for a blackberry down here. Hello. Yummy. Is that nice? Yeah? Look at her pen. She's got that. And then she's got all of the orchard around here. You lucky chicken. And who knew when my parents inexplicably built a toilet underneath a tree that it would prove to be quite a sensible solution to maintain social distancing and appropriate hygiene measures when visiting. I feel like they predicted it a little bit. So there's the view. And this is the summer house. Ah, the men are outside talking, so we'll be quiet. This is the sunny patio. It's like bliss, isn't it? It is actually bliss. Lesser spotted angel. You right, Angel? Good boy. And this is the top decking. And then there's a little step. Make sure I don't get tumbling. And there's a pond. I don't know if you can see. So bright. Pond. Little paths going off everywhere because all these trees and shrubs are part of the garden. It is so pretty. Hi, I'm Charlotte and this is Tired Mama Tries to Read. So I'm just going to do a really quick update on my reading because I filmed a little bit of footage at my parents' on the weekend and then I had nothing bookish to go with it. So I have got an amazing book that I need you all to read if you haven't already read it. This is The Only Good Indians by Stephen Graham Jones. It's billed as a horror story and yeah, I think it definitely works in the horror genre, but I feel like that maybe would limit its readership and I don't want that readership to be limited. I feel like this might be the book of the year for me fiction wise. The premise is basically that some young men from the Blackfeet tribe go out and shoot some elk in the woods, in the wrong part of the woods. It's a part of the forest that's reserved for elders to hunt in only, and at the point of that hunting grounds they make an error of judgment, like a bloodlust comes over them, and they make some mistakes, and 10 years later, I mean, it's kind of made obvious, but there's on the cover, but I don't want to give too much away, but the spirit of a particular elk decides to seek revenge for what happened. There is so much going on. I just have, there wouldn't be a video long enough. I'm almost thinking about doing a separate video, but probably the better thing for me to do would maybe be to link some other review videos from some Indigenous bookstagrammers and booktubers, just because they have an insight into the narrative that I can't have as a white reader. But I just want to say how much I loved it. The first half and the second half, if you've already got it and maybe you've read a little bit of it, the first half and the second half are almost two completely different books, and I love both of them equally for really different reasons. I think you've just got to, once you get into the second half, like I read the whole of the second half in one sitting, which I don't think I've done for, I don't know when I've last read that much of a book in one go. It was just so gripping. There's stuff in there about, obviously about colonialism, but about toxic masculinity, about how difficult it is for Indigenous people to relate to their culture and also to fit in a society that essentially wants to assimilate you. It's all about it's about love as well, and you know, finding solace in love, because some of the male characters, you know, have these relationships with women that seem to sort of save them. It's about motherhood, it's about tradition. There's just so much going on. I could go on and on. I've never read anything like it. That's why I think it kind of stands out to me as something that you should all read. Then I'm most of the way through A Mind Spread Out on the Ground by Alicia Elliott. So this is, I think this has been quite hyped up, and rightly so. This is a collection of essays, and Alicia Elliott is Mohawk, and she writes from the perspective of, and she doesn't use the word Indigenous, she's Canadian, and she uses the word Algonquin to describe herself, which is a Haudenosaunee word for original peoples. So that's how she identifies from the start. It's a book about motherhood, it's a book about identity, depression, bipolar, sexism. There's a lot of trauma in there. If you're going through a traumatic phase in your life, it might not be the book for you right now. But it might also be the book for you right now. The essays are very well put together in the sense of the order in which they go in. And I'm buddy reading this with Mercedes from Mercy's Bookish Musings and Sian from Storytime, and we've just sort of passed the midway mark. We feel like we're really getting into the feel of it now. She's just really raw writer. She also writes a lot about fact and just juxtaposes it with what she's going through personally. So there's stuff in it there about dark matter. There are legends in there too. Yeah, it's really, really good. Just completely original, and has framed the discussion on Native American women and Indigenous women and the legacy. You know, in many ways these are partners, because this is kind of discussing the legacy that Indigenous men have had to deal with because of colonialism, and this is mostly discussing the legacy that women have had to deal with. Really amazing in totally different ways. Very, very intense and hard going. Just, if you know, we've been reading it a little bit at a time, two chapters a day, and I feel like that is as much as we can take, and also it just gives us a chance to really go through what we're learning. And then I've just started Such a Fun Age by Kiley Reid. I don't know if there's anybody on BookTube who hasn't read this yet. Maybe I'm the last person, and there's loads of reviews out there. I think like 30 pages in, and the early, I mean, it's made quite clear on the cover that this initially starts with a young woman who is babysitting a child. The young woman is black, the child is white, and they are stopped by a security guard because there's a suspicion that this child isn't hers and that she's potentially kidnapped the child. That scene is excruciating. And part of the reason why I found it, I'm actually got goosebumps just thinking about it. Part of the reason why it's so excruciating is because the white woman that initially reports her to the security guard, the way that Kiley Reid has got her talking is just so, it's like every Karen video you've ever seen, and you can totally imagine how it would happen. And the fact that this white woman and the security guard just completely ignore the protagonist, who is Amira, and talk around her and actually talk to the 3-year-old rather than talk to Amira herself about what's going on. It just feels like it was just ripped out of real life. I feel like this has happened before, and it will probably happen again. And the fact that Amira doesn't, there's a man in the store, and I couldn't work out, maybe I missed the description, I couldn't work out whether the man was black or white, but I felt that he was white. And he films the incident, which is obviously something we're now really familiar with, the idea of this kind of racist incident being filmed. And he says to Amira, do you want me to say, do you want this footage, because what happened to you should report it? And she doesn't want to do anything about it. And again, this tied in so well with Alicia Elliott, because she said, if a trauma has happened to you, it is up to you how you want to deal with that trauma, and you shouldn't have to go through further traumas in order to sort of, fulfill this role of justice if you don't want to. So already we're really early on in the book, and Amira is sort of defying what we would maybe want a female protagonist to do, which is to say, hell yeah, give me that footage and I'm going to report them. She's saying no, and I think that's already defied expectations. That's I don't know where it's going to go. Maybe she is going to use the footage later on, so I don't want to sort of make too many judgments, but it's really piqued my interest. And it's made me think, okay, maybe Kiley Reid is saying something different here. Maybe we as the audience are going to have to be judges about what happens, and we shouldn't just leave it down to black women to have to constantly make these really tough calls and put all this energy in to fight racism. So I don't know. So early on, don't know, but I'm judging this based on other reviews I've seen and based on this little bit that I've read, that I feel like it's going to do something really different and really challenging for the reader, which is exciting. Yeah, so there we go, that's it. I hope you're all having a good week. It seems so shit to say that, like I'm just seeing on the news what's happening and in the US, and every day I'm thinking about it, and every day I'm trying to educate myself, but it's very difficult when you've got a platform that's meant to be talking about just, reading. Essentially, it's not a kind of life blog, and I'm not necessarily out there to talk about politics. I mean, this is just so huge. For me, Black Lives Matter has overtaken the coronavirus in my thoughts easily. And yeah, I hope you're all being safe wherever it is you are. And also, I'm going to put a link to something in my comments. Me and Stephen are going to be running Miles for Refugees. So if you want to sponsor us, I'm going to put both of our links to our sponsor pages. I'll tell you more about that in the next video, because I haven't got the energy to go through it today, but I will let you know exactly what we're doing. I'll put the links there anyway, because it kind of explains once you go onto our sponsorship pages. But if you would like to sponsor us to do lots of running in September and raise money for refugees, then please head to the links below. Thank you. Bye.